Kintsel with it. Okay, got it. John Thomas. I mean, she's going to be at the next Tuesday. Whoa! Did everybody sign in at the back? If you didn't, please sign in on the sign-in sheet. And put your phone number, please. That's my backup communication system.
It works great.
You got my flyers? You get my... Yeah, good. All right. Well, I'm 4 minutes late. That's a first. That's a first. I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. We've got a whole slew of speakers today, and a couple of them are running behind. But I've got a little family stuff I'm going to do first off. But very first, we do our prayer. And I have my uncle-in-law, Mr. Harold Hembry. How long were you a pastor, Harold? 50 years. So I figured he's probably got one or two prayers tucked away for us. So we always start our meetings with a prayer. So, Harold, if you'll do the honors.
The beauty of this day, we pause to remember that you are the source, the sustainer, and the receiver of life. We thank you for the life of each one here today. We ask your blessings upon this gathering. Enlighten us, we pray, as we think together. Lead us as we seek to live in accord with your will. And use us in your service and to your glory. In the name of Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Harold. Joel, since you're a veteran, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I would be honored in it. Ready, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Oh, there's a sign-in sheet. You're Joe. She did that last night. There's a sign-in sheet back if you have it. Thanks for putting things together. All right. Now, another little bit of family business. Saya and Rory, would you come up here, please? Bring your flags. Everybody, this is the closest to grandkids I will ever see. This is Rory Nicolich. And this is Saya Nicolich. Aren't they cuties?
Yes.
It's the cute part runs in the family. In fact, get up here, Rory. Make sure we get you on camera. And Saya? Stephen? Will they be on camera standing on
They are there?
Yeah, get up here. Stand up there. No, stand up there. Yeah, jump up. Their parents are watching the stream in Cottonwood, Arizona. So wave the flags. And I am blessed. Everybody that I'm in contact with in my family is well right of center. And that's a rare event in today's America. Almost everybody I know has got some flaky lefties in their families. Thank you very much. Give me a hug.
They did really good doing the pledge.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's what.
All right. You can get popped down now.
Thank you.
Hello, Gannon, Emily. Aren't they cuties? Okay. First off, I want to, as always, thank, there's a sign-in sheet at the back. If you wouldn't mind signing in, put your phone number on it. Mr. Stephen Phipps, he's the man who dropped this wonderful venue right in my lap when I first announced about 2.5 years ago that we were going to have a chapter here. He does all our audio visual. He's here when I get here around 11, and he's always here when I get here. So I want to have everybody give him a hand. And for liberty. All right. Now, we've got a number of speakers, and several of them are running late. So, Joel, I'm going to give you first up. This is Mr. Joe Kintsel. And he is running for governor on the Republican primary. That election, folks, put it on your calendar so you don't forget, is on June 28th. The last Republican primary, there were only 29,000 votes cast in the entire state. And it's important that us conservatives get out and vote, because the only election really that counts in this state is the Republican primary. When I was a kid, it was the Democratic primary. The state has completely flipped. Same thing in Texas. But June 28th, you've got to get out and vote. I can't emphasize how important it is. Joel, come on up here. We've got a microphone. And if you stand in back here, the microphone will pick you up good. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here in Kay County, and we've been looking forward to doing this today. And what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about my background and then talk to you about why I'm running. But before I do that, I want to introduce somebody that's very special to me. If my wife, Nancy Kintsel, would stand and be with us. I have to tell you, I wouldn't be where I am in life without her. So that's very important to me. Well, so I actually grew up in Wilton, Oklahoma. Does anybody know where Wilton is? It's not too far from here. And, Wilton's not a very big place, but it's full of good people. And it's where I learned my values and learned my faith and learned the value of hard work. And so I grew up in Wilton. I went to college in Stillwater. Go folks. I think it's safe to say that here. Now, for those of you who are Sooners, I went to law school at OU, so I can say my partisan. But I enlisted in the Oklahoma Army National Guard in 2001 and deployed to Iraq in 2008 with the 45th Infantry Brigade. I'm sure you all have heard of that. And then got out for 5 years and decided I hadn't had enough of it. And I went back in on the air side. And at this point, my wife had a say in the decision, because when I initially enlisted, I didn't know my wife. And she's from an Air Force family. Her father served in the Air Force. So I went back in on the Air Guard side. And I've been in the Oklahoma Air National Guard now for 7 years. And I'm the staff judge advocate, which is the chief attorney, military attorney, at the 137th Special Operations Wing in Oklahoma City. So I'm very proud of that. So let me talk to you just a little bit about why I'm running. Well, I digress just for a second here. I'm also currently the director of the Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs. And that's been the greatest honor of my life, to get to serve the 300,000 Oklahoma veterans that we have here in Oklahoma. 300,000. And just as an aside, in the course of my tenure there, I've had the privilege to lead the agency to a #1 position amongst the 50 states. You know, the governor talks a lot about being top 10 in Oklahoma, and I can't tell that he's got much to show for that in terms of things that he's directly affected. But I tell you, at the Department of Veterans Affairs, we are #1 in the 50 states for per capita federal benefits for our disabled Oklahoma veterans, and I'm very proud of that. So I'd like to just take a couple minutes to talk to you about why I'm running, and then I don't know if I have time, but I'd love to take questions if we have time.
Yeah, we'll take a couple of questions.
A couple questions, okay. Well, so if you would have asked me a year ago, you know, would you be thinking about running for governor? I would have said no. I would have laughed at you probably. But as time has gone on, there's some things that are developing that I think are wrong, and somebody's got to take a stand, and I guess that's going to be me. And specifically, the thing that drew me in initially was how the governor is treating our native tribes. Now, I'm not from a native background, but I'm an Oklahoman. And I feel like the relationship has deteriorated between the state of Oklahoma and our 38 tribes in a way that I don't support as an Oklahoman. And probably most of you are familiar with the McGirt decision. You all heard about that? It's something that the U.S. Supreme Court handed down that is frankly out of our control. And it has shifted some of the sovereignty away from the state of Oklahoma back to the tribes. And I feel like the way forward is to sit down with the tribal leaders and talk to them and work out arrangements where we can deal with law enforcement and making sure that justice is done. And currently that's not happening. There are things we could do. We could do cross-deputization agreements. We could do compacts. And then there are other types of agreements that we could enter into with the tribal leaders where we move forward with justice in Oklahoma, but do it together and do it in a way that is good for all Oklahomans. So that's one issue. The other issue, and this one might be the biggest one of all, there's a lot of corruption going on right now in the Stitt administration. There's cronyism. There's all kinds of contracts that are being done that are clearly backroom buddy type of deals. And if I'm elected as the governor, I'm going to clean that up. I'm going to make sure that people are appointed and hired that have had conflict checks to make sure that they're not bringing their private business interests into state government to make money personally. I'm going to clean that up. We're going to go back to a system where there's competitive bidding for contracts. That's one of the problems that's happening is the governor is making sure that contracts go to his buddies. And I think that's wrong. I think it should be done on the basis of a fair and equal opportunity for everyone and not just the friends of the governor. So if I'm elected, that's what I'm going to do. On another issue, public safety, the governor did the largest commutation in the history of the United States during his tenure. And there is a place in certain situations to commute somebody's sentence. Sometimes there's an injustice that was worked there where it is appropriate for the governor to do that. But what's happened is over 200 of those people, of the 400 some that were commuted, have already reoffended. What in the world? Why would somebody who says they're a conservative is letting dangerous people out of prison? You probably heard about the situation down in Chickasha where the gentleman was let out and he murdered 3 people and literally ate one of the victims. If I'm the governor, that is not going to happen. So those are the reasons that I'm running, just in a nutshell. And I'd love to take any questions anybody has.
Okay, the way we do it at questions, anybody's new here, raise your hand, call them one at a time, and get right to your question. We don't need a speech, we need your question. Pastor Jack, good to see you. You didn't have to wear your uniform.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is our host here, Pastor Jack Adams.
Thank you.
Okay, who's got questions? Look at that. How good you are. You answered all the questions. No questions?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Char's always got a question.
I'm just curious how you might feel and what can be done about all the illegals that they're letting into our state, and how are we going to keep our citizens safe from those people, not only physical safety, but our jobs and things that need to go to people that are actual citizens of the state.
Absolutely. Well, so immigration policy is mostly a federal issue, but I do believe that the governor has a role in that. And one of the things that I've become aware of is an attempt by the Biden administration to dump illegals at various points in the state. And as governor, I will stand up to that. We're not going to do that. And we need to get the issue fixed on the border. Again, that's beyond the governor's province. But I don't think it's that hard. Well, let's just follow the law.
Terry, I want to add to the immigration bill.
Sure.
They were, they're trying to get them to be able to get a driver's license. What's your view on this?
Okay, I do not support giving illegal driver's licenses. They adjourned, the session adjourned yesterday, so, and that bill didn't make it through, but I do not support that because I think it's just a hop and a skip from that to illegals voting. You don't have a democracy if you can't control who's voting.
One more question from Jay.
You mentioned the corruption
Yes, sir.
of Stitt's.
Yes, sir.
Is the corruption actually Stitt doing it or pressure from the Rhinos?
Well, so here's my view on leadership. If you're the leader, the buck stops with you. And the governor likes to say that. But the fact of the matter is he chooses the people that are directly answering to him. And it's those people that are doing it. In Oklahoma, we have a kind of a hybrid system where some agencies have a commission that runs the agency and oversees the agency. And that's the type of agency I work for. But one thing that the governor's asked the legislature for every session is to do away with that and just give him direct control. And lo and behold, the state agencies that he has direct control, that is where the corruption and malfeasance is. It's not in the agencies that have commissions. So to answer your question, I think it all flows directly to the leader.
Just Stitt.
Yes.
Agree with that?
Yeah.
Joe, if you want to talk or you want to ask questions?
One question. It's an easy one.
Yeah.
Good.
What's your feelings on the proposed almost 10% increase in the state budget?
Well, so
Without knowing the details.
sure. The way I think this works is the money that the government has is not their money. It's our money as taxpayers.
Yeah.
And when we have an excess, there are some needs that we need to address, but I think that money should be returned back to the taxpayer. We're the people that worked hard and earned that money and had to turn it over to the state. Did I answer your question?
Well, I think the proposed 10% increase came in last winter.
Well, it's probably true.
Okay, well, we're not going to discuss it. Joe, thank you very much. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Thank
Really
you.
Everything that you have tonight?
Oh, sure. Oh, sorry. One more thing.
Joe,
I'd love
run the meetings, okay? I run the meetings. Go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to invite everyone down to the city center at 1:00 for a meet and greet down there as well. And I'd love to visit with you individually and hear your thoughts and concerns. Thank you so much. Take care.
I just not going to go, Joe, because we.
1 to 3.
Okay, so you'll have time to get there after our meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so on introductions, I forgot we have two other celebrities here. We have Mr. Brian Hermanson, our district attorney, and the Kay and Noble Foundation. I've got to say, he's the only local elected official that shows up regularly at our Kay County Republican Party meetings. And he's been to more than one of these. So we appreciate it. He's a busy man, but he takes the time to come out and hobnob with us peasants. Lorena Smith-Eisen, she is the chairman in Noble County, and she's the lady who always gets John Pfeiffer's proxies, isn't she? Anyway, and she comes to a number of meetings up here. This chapter right now is a combination of Kay and Noble County, so I really appreciate you coming up from Noble County for us, Kay. Okay, now, my co-coordinator, Mr. Joe Baden, is running for District 37, and that's the one that is held right now by Ken Luttrell. I'm blanking out here. And so Joe's going to get him and address it for a few minutes of why you should vote for him over the incumbent.
Hey, Steven, you have to pull it for me. So for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Joe Vaden Jr. I live here in Ponce City, born and raised. I'm running for our state rep seat. Part of the reason I'm running for this seat, or actually the main reason I'm running for this seat, is I feel like our state representatives need to go down to the Capitol and do the work. We have a lot of problems in this country right now, and they're obviously not going to get solved at the federal level. We have to take care of it here in Oklahoma. And we can't do that by walk-in votes, voting the wrong way, voting against conservative values. Like the Volkers mentioned earlier, was it House Bill 1712? 1712, right? Does anybody remember that bill? That's the one that they want to track you and everywhere you go. And they do it under the guise of, well, we just want to, make sure that we're getting people that have electronic vehicles, EVs, to pay their fair share of the taxes. But for me, the less the government knows about my whereabouts and where I'm going, the better I feel. So we can't have people that say that they honor conservative values voting for stuff like that. We can't have people that are walk-in votes like Senate Bill 2, the Protecting Women's Sports Act, so on and so forth. I don't want to take up a whole lot more time. I've got some literature back here in the back. If you guys, anybody want to ask me questions afterwards, that's great. Everyone, we talked about this a minute ago, when the election is. Steve, if you would click on where it says remind me on my website, if you go pull it up on your mobile device, joevaden.com, and you hit that menu and you go to remind me, right? Let's scroll up just a little bit, Steve. Right above that QR code, it says click here. That is a calendar ICS file. Those are universal for Android devices, iPhones, even your computer. If you click that link, it will download the calendar ICS file and put a reminder in your phone, a calendar for the 28th with a 1 week, a 3 day, a 1 day, and the day of to remind you to go out and vote. And I would appreciate if you guys would do that, share it with everyone you know, so that we can get a good turnout in these elections. Thank you.
All right. We just had another VIP arrive, Mr. Sean Robberts, who is currently District 36, which is the other side of District 37. And he is termed out this year, and he's running for labor commissioner. Sean has been our most dependable OK2A supporter in the House. It's him in the House and Nathan Dahm in the Senate, and he's done a great job. He's got more awards from OK2A than he's got wall space in his office there at the Capitol. And he's going to be addressing us later in the meeting. We normally spend quite a bit of time at these meetings going over the legislation and the status. The legislature has ended as of yesterday. Thursday was the last day they do any business, and I think Friday's party day for them. But I want to cover, last year, the Oklahoma Second Amendment Association got 15 bills passed and signed into law at the state capitol. That's a historic number for any political action group, and that's what we are. This year, we got 2, 3, 4, 6. We got 9 of the bills we backed through the legislature this year. And I'm going to do just a quick run through on these. The next meeting, I'll go into more detail in this legislative session, but we've got so much going on here. House Bill 3046, and this is an emergency, so that means this went into effect the day the governor signed it on May 4th. This prohibits private funding and elections act. And Sean, this private funding and election act prohibition, is that to keep somebody from taking money out of their own pocket and financing their campaign? Is that what that's about?
Which one was that?
House Bill 3046. Lee Pack and Julie Daniels were the authors.
I'd have to go back and look at
it. I tried to look it up. I read the bill this morning, and I can't make sense out of these bills the way they're written. It's all lawyerese. Anyway, Senate Bill 3070 SDA language cleanup regarding firearms transport. And the way I read this, the main facet of this is if you're stopped on a traffic violation, a policeman seizes your gun, you get it back. There was more in there, but that's all I could make out of it reading the bill itself. House Bill 3365 is voter registration cleanup, which every state, every precinct in this nation needs that. I lived in New Mexico for many, many years. One of the TV guys there registered his cat Puppy as a boater and got a boater registration for his cat. And I seriously thought about registering my dog, but I didn't. I figured if the dead Indians can vote, my dog should have a franchise, but I never did it. I was afraid I'd get arrested. House Bill 4327. This is a biggie, folks. Prohibiting abortion. The only exception to that is the life of the mother. From what I've been told, this is the strongest pro-life bill in the United States. Now, of course, this is going to be hung up in court until the Supreme Court does whatever they're going to do. You know, we've had this unprecedented leak from the Supreme Court that they are going to be turning Roe versus Wade back to the states, which is where it should be in the first place. So we'll just have to see on that. But we have done everything we can do here in Oklahoma about this. SB 2. It's a crazy world we're living in, folks. Protecting women's sports. This is to prevent a biological male from competing in women's sports. Unbelievable that we even have to pass this kind of legislation. Country's coming apart at the seams, and our representatives have to spend their time addressing stuff like this. SB 186. Felons can now ride in a car with someone legally carrying. This is not an emergency, so this will not go into effect until November 1. Right now, if somebody's a convicted felon and they're in a car with somebody like me, for instance, with my SDA, and they get pulled over, that person can be put in prison for 10 years. It's just pretty much unfair. This bill got watered down a lot in the legislation because it was originally, it would allow nonviolent convicted felons that have been clean for 5 years to own a non-semi-automatic firearm, shotgun, pump shotgun, revolver, and so forth. Anyway, but this was the most important part of it because that's just outrageous that somebody, and we have pastors that pick people up and take to church, and some of these people they pick up are convicted felons. That convicted felon could be put in jail for 10 years because he was going to church with his pastor. SB 612 prohibits abortion except to save the life of a woman. The House Bill, HB 4327, and Senate Bill 612, they both addressed abortion, but both bills passed and were signed by the governor. SB 1100, another crazy one. Sex on the birth certificate must be male or female. And then SB 1571, air bows legal for hunting when regular bows are allowed. I didn't even know what an air bow was until I started hearing about this bill. I was told what they are, they use compressed air to shoot. They're basically like bolts for crossbows. But I've heard they can get about 450 feet per second, which is pretty respectable. So anyway, that's passed. That is an emergency bill. So is the sex on the birth certificate. So both of those go into effect right away, as is the House bill prohibiting abortion and the Senate bill protecting women's sports. So, okay, let's see. There she is, Emily.
Apologize for being late.
That's okay.
I think I left early.
Folks,
We'll blame it on the wind. You can blame my hair on the wind and the humidity.
this is Emily. It's nice to meet
It's
you
nice
face to
to
face.
meet
We've
you.
talked on the phone many times. Emily is challenging our state senator here in Senate District 10, which is from Tonkawa to basically Pawhuska. That's right?
Actually, it goes some into Tulsa
Oh,
County
okay.
in the northern part,
Okay.
and most of Osage County and about half of Kay County.
Okay. So, Emily, by the way, Emily is going to be at the mini meeting, which is on June. It's the second Tuesday in June. Check the calendar. I should know. I got too many meetings going on. 14. Yeah, it's June 14th. And that's the mini meeting, which is at Mary's Grill in Tonopah, 6 p.m. And you can come early and have a great meal at Mary's as well. So, you got here, oh, she brought water,
Yes,
signs.
the important thing is I saved the cookies, okay, so there's cookies.
You can try your cookies up here
I don't
too.
know about you guys, but I need one about.
And if you stand behind the microphone, pick up.
I grew up a little loud because I had sisters, so I may not need a microphone, but I feel a little like Minnie Pearl today. I'm so glad to be here. I think we took every detour and some of the exits were blocked off, so I apologize. We didn't leave when we intended to. We had one of those sewer septic problems at home, so when you're in a hurry, everything happens. But I want to thank you guys for having me. I guess I missed John O'Connor. He's not here yet. Well, I want to thank him for being a draw, so I have somebody to talk to. And if he ran into the same problem I ran into, we'll see him when he gets here. I'm a Christian, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a patriot in that order. And if I tear up when I'm talking, that's me, because things are so important to me. I hate what's happening to our country. I hate what's happening to our state. I'm a lifelong resident. I was born and raised in Sand Springs. I still live there. I've lived in the same house for about 37 years, so I haven't gotten very far in my life. I did study in Germany for about 7 months when I was getting my degree from the University of Tulsa, Germany being one of our biggest trading partners. I have 4 degrees. My Bachelor of Science came from the University of Tulsa Business College. And I also took enough classes to get my project management degree, but they didn't have a degree plan at that time. Excuse me. I'm the former Osage County Republican Party chairwoman, and I'm a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, where I was previously over the Veterans Committee. And we took a lot of things to the veterans and have a lot of respect for them. One of the nicest compliments I ever got was from a Vietnam veteran that I'd gone to high school with, when he told me that I was the most patriotic person he knew. Not the most patriotic woman, but the most patriotic person he knew. We've got a lot of problems going on right now. Bill Coleman, who is our senator here, voted to give illegal aliens driver's licenses. As we all know, that's a step away from voting. We know that the Chinese have bought 300,000 acres of Oklahoma farmland. And at some point, their vote is going to be bigger than ours. This is not replacement theory. This is just a fact of life.
Right.
When the Chinese and the illegal aliens from across our southern border have more influence on what happens in Oklahoma than we do, we've lost our state. We have a lot of problems that our farmers can't get fertilizer right now because of things that are going on with the war and what have you. And we know that Biden has turned over a lot of control to the World Health Organization. They have control when something's considered a pandemic, and they have the word on whether it's a pandemic or not. And by the way, they weren't declaring a pandemic and would not declare a pandemic when COVID was really big on the radar until Bill Gates gave them millions of dollars to do so. There's a lot going on that the average person doesn't know. And none of it's good. I was sort of born a Democrat because my whole family was. And I was just a Democrat. Everybody in my family was a Democrat. It wasn't the same party it is now. But in 1973, when they passed when Roe v. Wade was supported by the Supreme Court, my husband and I changed our registration to Republican and have not looked back. I appreciate what everybody is doing to kind of give us our rights back. Nathan Dahm has done a lot to secure our rights back for us, as far as, the registration of guns and what have you. And so has Sean Roberts. Now, Sean has turned out as a representative, and he's running for state labor commissioner. He was going to run in Frank Lucas's place as a congressional representative, but Sean's mother contracted cancer, and he felt it was more important to not be in Washington and stay here in Oklahoma. So I support Sean totally. Nathan Dahm is running in Senator Inhofe's place, and he's done a lot toward our gun rights. I support them both totally. And I was talking to, I called Nathan on his cell phone yesterday and was asking him about this bill 1591 that gives not voting rights, but it will be voting rights. We all know that. It gives driver's license to the illegal aliens. And I discussed some things with him, and there were a lot of strikeouts in the bill that I was reading when they modify it or whatever. And some of the strikes had to do with voter ID and what have you. So we know it's just one more step. But one thing I want you to be aware of, there is no general election for this office. There are no Democrats running. So it will not go to the general election. There is just me and Bill. So whoever wins the primary wins it. So if you will vote for me, you'll have to vote in the primary because that's the only opportunity I have. But I would appreciate your vote very much. I want to help this state and help this country. We need to do something about our own borders and protect them. We have a lot of fentanyl coming in across the southern border that the Chinese are bringing in. I have a very good friend that lost their son to fentanyl. And a lot of people have lost their families to drugs. We need to protect our own borders. If they're not going to close the southern border to Mexico, we need to do something about our own borders and stop so many drugs from coming into Oklahoma. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry to be late and be a distraction, but thank you for having me.
Said he's going to be at the Tuesday meeting, June 14th in Tonkawa, and we'll have plenty of time for questions then and there. Thank you for coming, Emily, and thanks for the cookies.
Oh,
That's a huge tray of cookies.
Please, everybody, help yourself. I cannot take this home.
Okay, now, the man is here. Mr. John O'Connor, who is our current Attorney General. And John had filed more lawsuits against the Biden administration than any other state's attorney general in the United States. So I'm sure everybody's seen the lying ads that his opponent is putting out. Those are complete, utter falsehoods. His opponent is Mr. Drummond, and he donated $1,000 to the Biden campaign. He's trying to disown that now but I've seen the forms from the the U.S. election people that the money was donated. His list of donors is chock full of liberals and lefties. And he not only donated to the Biden campaign, but he donated to other lefties and Democrat campaigns. This guy's a joke. Also, does anybody in here know Bryce Chapin?
Yep.
Okay. Bryce is running, I forget the district, but he's running for the House out of the Guthrie area.
Yeah. John Talley in Stillwater.
Yeah, against John Talley in Stillwater. Bruce was at the Payne County Republican Women's Meeting. Drummond spoke there. You ready for this, folks? He said if he was Attorney General, he would appeal all the bad rulings all the way up to the United Nations. Think about that. In his mind, the UN is above the U.S. Supreme Court. That's exactly the wrong kind of person to have in office these days. This globalization, this undercutting our national sovereignty, we can't have it. John O'Connor is rock solid on that, and he is the man to vote for. Again, put it on your calendar, June 28. This is super important, folks. Only 29,000 votes last time determined our Republican nominees. It's vital that every one of us get out and vote at least once. And
somebody with you.
talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to your co-workers. Maybe if you've got elderly people that have trouble driving, give people a ride to the polling places. Folks, our country is swirling around the bowl. We've got to stop it. And the way to stop it with the least investment of blood and treasure is through the political system, and that means electing the right people. I can't overemphasize how important this is. This is our entire future, your kids, your grandkids. As I've said before, when evil's coming at you, you got two choices. You lay down and let them put their foot on your throat, or you stand up and fight them. And fighting them is a heck of a lot more fun. I've been doing it for 2.5 years, and I've had more fun the last 2.5 years than you can believe. It's nice to have fun in your old age. John?
Yeah.
I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Okay, Lucia and I are still moving. We drove like the quote would be "bat out of hell," I think, to be with you all. Let me say this.
I got us all messed up. It was wonderful.
No, you didn't. We're a team. If one of us screws up, we all screw up.
I know.
And by the way, if one of us loses this election and the liberals take over, we all lose.
Right.
And so Lucia and I, this is my wife, Lucia, 43 years. Go ahead and say it, I caught her at the weakest moment. The weakest moment. So I want you to know it's an honor for me to be with you. You all are the activists. You are the warriors. What Lucia and I did was take a step forward. When the governor called and said, "Would you be Attorney General?" I said yes, but it's on behalf of the Army. It's on behalf of you. Because one guy standing alone gets beat. But all of us standing together win.
Yes.
Okay? And so I have the honor of being the tip of your spear. Not in all venues, but in the courts. And that's where I'm most comfortable, right? I've practiced law for 40 years, mostly in fights. And I've loved it. And I hate to confess that, but I'm like Terry. I love the fight. Litigation to me is part chess match and part knife fight. And I've tasted both for 40 years. And I've been doing it for 10 months working for you as your Attorney General. And so for 40 years, I've represented business leaders and business management and individuals. And I love jumping on that white horse, drawing my sword, and running headlong into the enemy. Now I get to do that for you, and it's a great honor for me. So thank you for your leadership and for letting me be a part of the war that you're waging. But we have a war. I'm going to back up for a second and give you a little bit of background on me. My dad was a machinist for the Frisco Railroad in Tulsa. He was from Missouri. My mom was from Woodward. Two big farm families, 12 kids in one family, 11 in the other. They were Dust Bowl survivors. And in fact, when we drove out west in the Panhandle, we were probably never more than 100 yards from one of her relatives. And it was funny. We got lost one time, and she looked up in the combine and said, "I think that's my Uncle Wendell," and it was. And so her dad was in the Army, came back, couldn't find work, enlisted in the Air Force, came back, went to work for the Oklahoma Wildlife Department as a game biologist over in the Buffalo area and the Fort Supply area. So her mom took in kids to supplement the family's income as a kind of a home daycare thing. But so mom and dad had 6 kids. I have 5 siblings, 2 girls, 4 boys. Dad took a 2x4 to the roundhouse, sanded the corners, cut a grip into it, and painted Board of Education on one side. That's how he, kept us in line. He didn't. I never saw him use it, but he kept it on the buffet in the dining room the whole time. We were raised in a family of strong family values, strong faith, and all 6 of us put our own ways through Oklahoma State University. All 6 kids, and 5 of the 6 have advanced degrees that we all paid for ourselves. So 2 law degrees, a PhD in civil engineering, an MBA, and a master's in blood banking. And I think that happens. There's a powerful motivation when you watch your dad work the night shift and go out no matter what the weather. Go out every night at 11 p.m. to work. And that gets in you. And you say, I'm not going to do that same thing. And so as a result of that, a couple things. Number one, I'm very sensitive to and very respectful of families who are raised on limited means and make ends meet. There's a dignity in honest work that is irreplaceable. And that's a whole lot better than a handout. My dad never made more than $16,000 in a year. But we gave away. He'd put 6 quarters on his dresser on Sunday mornings. Each kid would grab a quarter and put it in the basket. And we never thought of one for 1 second. No, if somebody had said, "Do you guys need $1?" we would have said, "Give it to somebody who needs it." And so hard work, making ends meet. Also, though, when the utilities ask for an increase, I look at it from the standpoint of a machinist's son. How can I reduce that rate increase as much as possible and then spread it so it's $4 a month or something instead of $30? But I'm also a right and wrong guy. I'm a rule of law guy. When I went down to the border and we went down there, 13 attorneys general from Republican states, and the federal government canceled a briefing of us. That's how much Biden hates Republicans. They wouldn't even brief attorneys general that were down there. But I got in a boat and went up on the river. And it's just disgusting. I said, I'm a follower of the rule of law. Our president is not. There are hundreds of thousands of people coming across the border. The cartels make $100 million a week selling human beings into America. And probably more than that, selling drugs. We're busting fewer meth labs in Oklahoma because Mexican meth is so plentiful here. It's killing our people, taxing our law enforcement agencies, developing gangs in Oklahoma. The local distribution arms of these drug cartels are gangs in Oklahoma. The cartels have cut Oklahoma into 6 districts so they don't fight each other. Medical marijuana, we've invited Chinese, Russian syndicates, crime families into our heartland. And it's criminal, really. And I voted for that thinking, well, kids are having seizures. I'm for the families who want to be able to treat their kids with chronic pain, people who have chronic pain. But the state of Oklahoma was not ready from a regulatory standpoint or a law enforcement standpoint. It's crazy. You know, we did a big bust here not long ago and had to have the DEA, the FBI, the SWAT, the OSBI to go do an agricultural inspection, right? So there's work to be done there. President Trump nominated me to be a federal judge. The FBI cleared me, the DOJ cleared me, both our U.S. senators cleared me. And the ABA came out and said I would, after 38 years of successful practice of law and not one ethics violation, the ABA came out and said I was incompetent and unethical. And that was because, I mean, the ABA went pro-abortion in the 90s and I quit. Only like 10% of lawyers belong to the ABA. My opponent says a respected National Lawyers Association called him incompetent. That's a lie. My opponent has hired liars for his campaign. They're, you know, they lie for money like one of the oldest professions, right? The difference is the ones who lie for money since biblical times, they do it honestly, right? The people who are lying now for money, they're deceiving you. They come up with something called the Conservative Union or something. That's a liberal.
Advancing freedom.
Yeah, advancing freedom.
They do it every side.
That is the biggest lie ever. And he did give to Biden, and he did give to the Democrat running against Tom Coburn, and he gave to the Democrat running against Jim Bridenstine in Tulsa. Gave to the Democrat running against Sean. Is that right? Yeah. So I mean,
And John Walton.
and John, the Democrat senator in the Tulsa area, named John Waldron, I think. And
yeah.
Okay, so look. So what if he's a Democrat? Just be honest with us. You know, if you're gonna be the Attorney General, do not be a lying sack of sand. Get honest with the people of Oklahoma. We're smart enough to make our own choices. You don't have to lie about it. But he's got unlimited money. You've already seen it, right? He sends out these cards. I'm the most aggressive Attorney General in the United States of America against the Biden-Harris Pelosi.
Yeah.
I've sued him 15 times. I've written 39 letters against the Biden policies. And he comes out with a card showing me looking in a mirror and it's Biden's picture. Now that's a lying sack, right? Dirtbag. And then he says, I'm for binary birth certificates. I'm the guy that wrote a letter to the Stillwater School Board saying, you do not have to let the boys in the girls' bathroom. There is no law that compels that. They were being told by the school board that they're bound to do that. I'm the guy that stood up against that liberal group.
Thank you.
Right. So everything you see and hear from the lips of liars, lies. And you just needed to, I told Lucia last Friday, brace yourself for 40 days of bombardment. You wonder why good people don't run for office? It's because lying sacks of, who are rich, bombard you with lies. Try to tear down your family and try to tear you down. But I don't care. I'm not here for popularity. I'm here because there's a mission to be filled, and it's to stop the federal government from taking away our rights. And it's represent all 3.9 million Oklahomans, including those with Native American ancestry and including the unborn. Right? All right. So what you have in me is a Trump-nominated pro-life conservative who believes that life begins at conception. And a guy who's going to fight over federal government overreach until they pry my cold, dead fingers off. You know what? So I'm also, I'm very much, I think there's a straight line between our founding fathers and our founding mothers. You never hear about the founding mothers, but is there any man in this room who thinks that there weren't some very strong women standing behind the so-called founding fathers, right? They do, right? We all know that. Every guy who shows up here who's honest would admit that his wife, he goes home and his wife is lighting fire under him every evening. Yeah, I agree, man. I'm exhausted. It's 11 p.m. I tell Lucia, no serious conversation starts after 9 p.m. At 11 o'clock, she's handing me her phone. Can you believe this? And I said, honey, I've got no IQ left. So, I said yes because I think America is like a lazy river heading toward a waterfall. I think the federal government's trying to take all of our rights. They're trying to erase the fact that our states exist. I still believe, and I'll go to my dying day, telling people that the rights belong in we, the people, and the government was formed by us and only exists to serve us. That our rights don't come from the government and the government can't take them away. That our rights come from God the Father because he made us. Amen. Right? And so we're not England, we're not Europe, we're not a dictatorship, we're not a kingship. We are the American people. So that rule of law and those founding fathers, to me, were defended by our military, who then became, a lot of them are vets, and are now showing up in our law enforcement, our sheriff's departments, our police departments. And I want to thank you for those of you who are in the military, who are veterans, or who are serving in law enforcement, because I think it's a straight line from our original founding principles through you right now. And I think the rest of us need to stand up for them when you see an officer, thank them for their duty. If the rest of the country is saying defund the police, we are going to double funding for the police, right? Yeah. Not because we want a dictator state, yeah, but because we respect those who risk their lives for us and who stand for the rule. You go down to the border, Biden doesn't believe in the rule of law. Hundreds of thousands of people are crossing into America unvaccinated. At the same time, Biden is telling the military, get vaccinated or quit. Some of them with 22, 23 years in the service. And he's going to strip them of some benefits if they don't get vaccinated. So anyway, these things you can tell. We are standing up for the state of Oklahoma. This is the freest state in America. And if we can't plant the flag here for our Republican, conservative, God-fearing principles and make them work in Oklahoma and show the rest of the country what that looks like, then our country's in bad shape, because there's no better state than the state of Oklahoma for us to plant the flag in right now. Right? Yeah. So you've got to have a vision. We can't just be the party that says no to everything. We have to be the party that says yes to these values. We have to take it personally when somebody's struggling. We have a large percentage of kids in Oklahoma who live in homes where they are at or below the federal poverty line. We need to take that personally. Okay. We have public schools that are great public schools. We have great teachers in our schools. We have great teachers in failing public schools. We have some failing public schools. We, as good people, God-fearing people, have sat on the sidelines and felt like that we could trust that the school board elections are going to be of good people. Right? Now we're waking up, realizing that while we've been asleep and eating biscuits and gravy, guilty, the school boards have been taken over in some instances by people who are teaching our kids about transgenderism at an early age and about pornography at an early age and about critical race theory when their defenses are not developed enough to fight back. And so there goes a good young patriot. I had a state rep bring to me a picture from a middle school library book of a boy kneeling before another boy giving him sex
In our life.
in our library. And I said to the state rep, well, did you go to the superintendent's? And she said, yes. And the two I talked to defended this book as having literary value. There's another book that has a rape scene. Oh, bro, don't you need to go to the bathroom? He's a granddad. There's another one of a rape scene. Father and his daughter. Defended by superintendents as having literary value.
Back it up.
They're teaching in some schools in Oklahoma American history from the standpoint of race, and that all of us are oppressors, and we have a law that says they can't do that, thanks to our legislature. It's been great this year, even though at the end it turned into a little bit of a hair-pulling contest. But they've been great all year, very responsive as Republicans. And but we have got to take back our school boards and our city councils. And if yours aren't great, please recruit somebody to run and take them back now. But in the meantime, don't wait for the 1-year annual cycles. Get out there and become activists at the board meetings right now. Don't stop, because there's the other side, the liberal side, is more organized, more well-funded, more focused, more ready to fight, more activist than they've ever been in my lifetime. And so let me just say that I'm proud to be the Attorney General in the freest state in America. And we are in a death fight for our values. And every one of us must be fighting hard. And I'm going to be the tip of the spear in the courts. You need to be the tip of the spears in your homes and in your families for our values. And so any questions? I'm happy to answer questions if you have a minute, or I know Terry's kept you past lunchtime.
First question. So I'm from Stillwater, and thank you for getting involved in that ridiculous situation there with our school system. But I hope we really are going to do something about the school board.
That came out of those meetings, by the way, when I was there. The parents came up to me. So
there's going to be all sorts of criticisms and accusations. It's going to be all the campaigns from here to November. It's going to be vicious. But we've heard criticism today about the governor. What I'm really concerned about is the slanderous criticisms about Sid that I see on TV on a regular basis. You know, it's hard for us to know what is and what isn't proven.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff has gone so far, and a good friend of mine, Bob Birds, an attorney in Stillwater, Department of Agriculture.
Yeah.
He has tried to find out who is financing these slanderous ads, and he has had no success at all.
Is that your
It's been impossible. Are we finding out who is financing those ads?
Yeah. So the Native Americans, number one, they probably, I think, committed $8 to $10 million against Governor Stitt. Folks, that your federal tax dollars and mine, income tax, go to Washington, come back to, billions of dollars come back to the tribes that go into 120 different companies, and they go out in Democrat contributions. It's a circle with your money that the tribes are using to fight for the eastern half of our state.
No Soros money?
Oh, I suspect there's Soros money in there too, and there's probably money from my opponent who gave to this Center for Advancing Freedom or something that is a liberal hoax. And his wife gave to the Lincoln Project, right? Which says our goal and the reason we exist is to undo everything Trump did.
Soros's money is everywhere.
Soros's money is everywhere. And so that's maybe also from, you guys know that the same Democrats who gave $72,000 to Joy Hoffmeister against Governor Stitt gave 74,000 to my opponent against me. So if you believe in the cynical kind of thing, follow the money, the Democratic money is for my opponent. Yes, sir. Next one.
Well, and I'm a card-carrying Chippewa, but I don't get into all the my land stuff. I served in the Army, so I defended all of my land, not reservations, not state of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But my question to you is this: if they're they claim this sovereignty in this. The feds have come down and said, well, the McGirt thing.
Right.
So how is it that they're a foreign entity technically then in the country then if they're sovereign? No different than Mexico or Canada. So why are they contributing money into our elections at all?
Yeah. Point one, I think
Yeah,
I think it's a shame what's happened in Oklahoma. Oklahoma was a perfect example of cultures assimilating and appreciating each other. I grew up in Tulsa. Some of my great friends were Native American. We didn't know we were supposed to discriminate on the basis of race. We grew up together. I have 3 grandkids who are Cherokee. So now the U.S. Supreme Court, the 4 liberals and Justice Gorsuch have put us back 50 years in those relationships. Now law enforcement has to ask, is the violator, is the perpetrator in den? Is the victim in den? What reservation did it happen on? So we have America with Oklahoma on it. Those are the constitutions and the rights we're all bound by. Then you take the eastern half of the state and lay 6 reservations on it. What's that mean? Well, the Supreme Court's going to have to tell us because we've never acknowledged that we had reservations. So how can they give money? Well, remember, our Oklahoma Constitution prevents alien ownership of land in Oklahoma. So how do the Chinese and Russians buy land here? An Oklahoma Supreme Court decision that says if they form an entity and domesticate that for $125 or whatever it is in Oklahoma, now they're domesticated. They're not alien. They're in Oklahoma. So they can buy land.
No, we need to do away with that.
We need to. That's something that's going to be on my agenda for next year. The face is out of that too, but not all the way. So long story short, we're asking the U.S. Supreme Court, since they're not going to overturn McGirt so quickly, we are taking them issues up every time one pops up. I'll tell you, we had a sheriff in eastern Oklahoma who was transporting a arrested guy who had a knife, stabbed him. The sheriff survived, turned that over to the feds to prosecute because it was on one of the reservations, and the sheriff is Native American. And the feds declined to prosecute because they had too many more serious violent ones. We had a guy who was a detention officer in Tulsa County who was walking an inmate in the jail. The inmate stopped and beat the crap and beat him. And Tulsa County arrested the guy, was prosecuting him for that assault and battery too. And then he joined the tribe, played the McGirt card, and got out. So the state couldn't prosecute him. It's a felony in the state of Oklahoma to assault a law enforcement officer. In the Fed system, it's a misdemeanor. He goes from jail time, prison, to a ticket and walks. And that's not the murders. There have been homicides that people have walked on in eastern Oklahoma. And if you're a Native American and your car gets stolen in eastern Oklahoma, forget it. They won't even prosecute the guy. They'll catch the guy maybe if they get your car back, maybe. But there's no law enforcement over there to protect you. That's for Native Americans. So anyway, we're asking the U.S. Supreme Court, if you say, O'Connor, when are you going to get sick of taking it? We have 43 cases before the U.S. Supreme Court right now. We're going to wear them out. Okay? And I think Gorsuch I think what he really wants is to do reparations for 250 years ago. With Oklahoma, half of Oklahoma being the payment. So if you want to get, so I matter, what about it?
Yeah.
And right now, you need to ask the questions on these elections. My opponent, after he lost last time, Hunter ran it. He ran against Hunter and he lost, and he's going to lose again. Even though he's going to outspend me 4-1. After he lost last time, he went to the tribes and says, "What do I need to do to get your money?" And so he knows now. So if he were sitting here right now, he'd say, "Come on, folks, we're their friends. They're our friends. We lost. They lost. We need to go and just see what we can do to make a deal." Okay, that's what you're going to hear from him, and you need to press him and say, "Would you vote to overturn McGirt? Will you represent the state of Oklahoma, the sovereignty of the people of Oklahoma?" And he won't answer. He'll dodge. Yes, sir.
There's a question here from Kerry. We sit by God. Do they just warn, or do they have
No, we won.
required by law to
Yeah.
go through the process?
We won. Now I'll say there are 27 Republican attorneys general in America, 27 states. And we talk all the time. So if you wonder why is Oklahoma filing a lawsuit in Louisiana, it's because we figured out that's the best court for the trial level, the appellate level, and the U.S. Supreme.
Seemed like I lost hope in the justice system.
Yeah, you need to keep some hope alive.
Yeah.
But we don't file much in Oklahoma because our court of appeals is in Denver.
So it makes sense. Yeah.
Makes sense. We beat them on OSHA. We beat them on federal employees' vaccine mandates. We beat them on federal contractors. We beat them on Head Start, that 4-year-olds running in a playground had to wear a mask. We beat them on those. We lost on CMS. I don't know why they turned on our healthcare. And so far, we've lost on our military. But there is a lawsuit that was just filed in Texas representing some military people. And so the state of Oklahoma apparently, I got bounced. I was the only AG in the country at that moment to file to try to keep our military from having to be kicked out if they wouldn't take the vaccine. Because what they do is they say, yeah, you can do a health or religious exemption, and then it's going to take them 18 months to do the rule on your exemption. And they're going to out you. They're going to exit you in 6 months. You never got your exemption. Right. Anyway, we beat Biden way more than we've lost to Biden. And we're going to keep doing that. There's more and more coming, folks. He said recently that unless you teach transgenderism to our young kids, they're going to stop the federal lunch money into our schools.
Well,
Okay? So, they're mean-spirited. They're going to go to the pocketbook on our kids to force us to have cross-dressers reading transgender books and homosexual books to our first graders, our 5-year-olds, our 6-year-olds, our 7-year-olds. And so we're just gearing up for that fight.
That's why it's so dangerous. Take that away.
And
He's got strength.
it's why it's so dangerous to vote for my opponent who supported Biden. I blame him for everything. And by the way, I think Biden and his little group that's behind him, because I don't know how present. But pray for his health, right? Because what's an alternative?
Yeah.
On that note, how do you go about, so we're Oklahomans. I don't care your background.
Right.
We're
Right.
how to bring to mind your opponents, and I don't even remember or care for his name, but how do you bring it about that he is manipulating the tribes into falsehoods without it appearing you're attacking the tribes?
Well, I had no choice. I'm a lawyer for the state of Oklahoma. So the tribes already consider me public enemy. But I will tell you, I reached out to the tribal chiefs. I've met with 4 of them personally. We started good conversations, then we go into the election cycle, and they throw 10 million into the kitty to attack the government. Tell me more specifically on your question. How can we work together, or how
You're
can,
promoting yourself, you're campaigning.
Right.
And how do you campaign to the people that your opponent is twisting and using
right?
the tribes, not to the benefit of the tribes or to Oklahomans?
Yeah, they're not. This is something I've learned. I've been in private practice for 40 years and in public service for 10 months. So you see that in the law, I get to prove people are lying and beat them. In politics, it's about half truths, half lies, and impressions.
Yes.
And it's a sick world. It's a sickening world. So the tribes are using my opponent as much as my opponent's using them. And there's nobody who's getting open their eyes on that
Okay.
in that little love affair.
From, I guess, the point of view of looking at is, say someone who doesn't belong to the tribes.
Right.
So we're
80%. Yeah, you're from Canada.
Originally.
Yeah.
More recently.
That's not a gift of prophecy when she says a yeah.
But, so you're campaigning and I hear things, and I would say, well, that's, you're against the tribes. And I know you're not.
I actually believe that Oklahoma is an incredible experiment that was working. We love our tribal heritage for 20 or 15% of our people. It's a wonderful addition to the rich culture of Oklahoma. And we were doing great. In fact, even one of the chiefs told Congress in 2016, we don't have reservations in Oklahoma anymore. We have it since statehood. But now the U.S. Supreme Court came around and changed all that. So I believe in the rich heritage that the Indian nations bring to our state, and that we should grow up together and be in business together and all that stuff. But I'm not going to sacrifice the sovereignty of the state. So far, the Indian nations were dealt a royal flush by the U.S. Supreme Court. So they're slow playing it, and they have no motivation to negotiate with us. And that's why we're taking these cases up. I'm trying to take an axe to the stump of their confidence through these cases. We won a huge one when the court said, the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed, actually denied cert, that McGirt was not retroactive. So tens of thousands of convictions of felonies of Native Americans remained intact. Now we've asked them, can Oklahoma please continue to prosecute non-Indians who hurt Indians in eastern Oklahoma, as we've been doing for 113 years, because the feds admit they don't have the manpower. So now the next question is going to be, we've asked them, who is an Indian? Because a guy commits a violent crime, is arrested, and is being prosecuted, and he joins a tribe, gets a card, and walks. So we're saying, is it an Indian on the day he commits the crime? Or can he go all the way through our system and say, I don't like the jury's verdict. Now I'm going to play the card and get out over to the tribes. So anyway, we're going to wear them out. Every question.
I just read that they're admitted that they're sending 75 more.
Yeah, the FBI's admitted that it cannot handle, and they've admitted, they say that they expect a surge in nonviolent crime. Well, of course, because there's no law enforcement.
We'll get into the question here.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to shift gears to the Second Amendment.
Yes, sir.
Last year, Governor signed law that Oklahoma is supposed to do a sanctuary state. I would like to know what your definition of a sanctuary state is. How to rebrand the ATF changing definition of firearms and requiring serial numbers on the part. things of that nature.
Okay, so let me tell you on the Second Amendment. I believe the Second Amendment is as important as the First Amendment. I believe, in fact, that the Second Amendment might be the reason the First Amendment exists. And so I'm for no regulation on the right of the people to keep and bear arms. I don't foresee a time. I don't really foresee a time when the government is going to come through. You know, whenever in Iraq or Afghanistan, when a group guerrillas take over a town, they go door to door and get all the guns. Yeah. We also know that in the Native American, the Cherokee Nation, I'm not sure about the Chippewa. So, the tribal council can declare a person dangerous and send their police to that person's house to confiscate their guns.
Flag.
Yep, and there's not a Second Amendment guarantee in the Cherokee Nation. I don't know about the other. So I believe ultimately the right of the people to keep and bear arms is what makes America hard to attack. Number one, from outside, but also makes America hard to attack from the inside. And so, that's how much I think we need to stand for that. And I'm grateful. OK2A rated me A+ and endorsed me. And my opponent, in his lying, somebody's lying, says that I'm soft on gun. I mean,
If his lips are moving, if Freeman's lips are moving, he's.
But he's smooth. I'll prepare you. He's smooth. He is smooth. I look at him sometimes and I go, man, you're smooth. But it's not truth. There's no truth in it. Yeah.
So
Back for another question.
I have a statement to make. I've been married to John for 43 years. He has never lied in his entire life. He has led our family with dignity and integrity and honesty all the way through. Our kids are crazy about him. And his family's divided. All of his family. I don't know if you've heard the stories, but we're told all the time. People come up to us all the time and tell us another way that they have either been hurt by him or screwed by him. I mean, seriously. Okay, so one thing I want to ask you all, there is something that you can do. You can put your name on our email list, and then you'll be on the list that gets all of the updated information. You don't have to give $10. You don't have to give anything. But if you can give $10, that would be incredible because all of this takes so much money. John has raised $1.7 million, which is the most any attorney general has ever raised. Gentner is self-funding. He's also raised money. And so we're in this incredible battle between
Good and evil.
what
Good
good men,
Good and evil.
good and evil. That's right. I thought you said good men. I go, no.
Yeah.
You know, I went to Girl State and I've been a patriot. My dad was a gameologist. I grew up in the NRA, all that stuff. And I'm just so proud of John and what he's doing. And he's not hot-headed. He's not going to fly off. He's a black and white kind of guy. You've got to prove it to him before he goes off the rails and gets emotionally involved in something. He's an incredible person in the job of Attorney General, and he should stay there. But it takes a lot. It takes a big army. And you can be on the army if you'll just give us your name and we can keep you informed. And then we have videos that we can send that you can forward to your friends. And that's all.
There's a sign-up list over there, right? Yes. Please, yeah, please.
Mention your family. I've been in contact through Facebook with Carolyn.
Yeah.
She's there. Yeah. She is ready to blow up.
Yeah. When you leave, grab a yard sign, please. But yeah, it's funny to watch my daughters. I have to calm them down about every other night because they would really go.
Okay, we've got time. I'll take two more questions. Two hands in the air.
Okay.
Yes, I have heard from, other representatives or whatever, how we could disarm these Chinese that are in Oklahoma now. because they're all carrying big guns and get our land back. But can you just give us a couple of bullet points on
Yeah.
how
So,
it would happen?
you know, they just passed a law that makes the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority a freestanding agency. So it's no longer under the Department of Health. And now they're also raising fees, registration or license fees, and they're going to use part of those funds to fund law enforcement, in addition to some other things. Some money's going to education, I believe. And we were asleep at the switch, and now we've awakened. And but you know, criminals seem to always be a step ahead of enforcement because they're, you know, it's just the way a lot of times it is. But we're going to fight, and I think law enforcement will catch up to those folks, and the illegal ones will rout out. But the Fed's going to probably come along because it's Biden, Harris, Pelosi, Schumer, Drummond, and they're going to legalize marijuana. So,
Federally?
federally.
Last question. I was wondering if you were familiar with the Supreme Court case of Mack and Prince versus the Clinton administration.
Not the name, but tell me, I may be familiar by whole.
It has to do with the majority decision written by Samuel Alito that the state and local governments are not required to enforce federal legislation.
Yeah, no, I will look at that. I mean, I'm sure my Solicitor General's team, you know, I've got 200 employees, 100 some odd lawyers, law enforcement officers, analysts. I'm sure they're aware of it because we are always looking for it, but I will look into that.
I can give you more information on that if you'd like.
Yeah, if you would, please. Let me tell you, the largest pro-life lobbyist group in the country is called the Susan B. Anthony List. And I'm proud that they've endorsed me. And so that just to kind of wrap up the pro-life piece, that's what I stand for. When Lucia says I'm black and white, sometimes it's frustrated her over the years.
Something's either right or it's wrong.
That's how I view it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But my opponent is pro-life at campaign time. And he's advertising on Christian radio all of a sudden. So,
Folks, the Attorney General is second only to the governor as the most important elected official in this state. There's nobody else that even comes close. And the lieutenant governor could, if he'd step up to the plate in the Senate and take the gavel when he needed to. But folks, this is an important election. Every office is important. This is, in my opinion, second only to the governor. So be sure and get out and vote. He's a good man, and he's done a great job in 10 months?
10 months.
10 months that he's been in office. Okay, one thing I'll say.
One thing.
Sure.
Mark June 28 on your calendar and decide that you want to be maybe you're going to take 5 people and encourage them. So you're going to leverage your influence. Get 5 people and call them the day before and call them the morning of the camp, the vote.
Yes.
Or get 10 or get 20. Get mad and let's take control. Let's take it back. So thank you very much.
Folks, we're talking about the federal government usurping. The federal government was created by the states. The states are and were sovereign. The federal government is totally a creation of the states. And the people that are wanting to keep these obscene books in our school libraries, they're calling us censors because they want to get rid of them. And they're the ones that threw out To Kill a Mockingbird, Huckleberry Finn, 2 great American classics. Anyway, our last speaker, we've had a full program today, folks. Mr. Sean Robberts, running for Commissioner of Labor. This has been a hero for 12 years at the legislature for OK2A.
Do I know everybody in here? Everybody know who I am?
No idea.
You don't. I'm going to give you a little brief history, just in case anybody doesn't know who I am. I'm Sean Roberts. I live in Harmony. I'm married, have 5 kids, 4 boys, and a little girl. She's 3. And I'm a Christian. I've served in the House for 12 years, and I've fought for the Second Amendment in life the entire time. I'll give you the briefest synopsis that I can of everything I've worked on. I have a master's degree in physical therapy from the University of Oklahoma. I worked at UPS in management for 9 years, and I have a small business, and I'm also a physical therapist, like I said, and I'm running for the Department of Labor. So Emily mentioned earlier, I was running for Congress earlier, decided it was not the best time to do that, better to stay home, get my mom through her cancer treatments. She's doing really well. Thank you. Many people have been praying for her, and I really appreciate that. That is so important. The power of prayer is, there's nothing more. After I made the announcement to step aside, some people who are statewide elected officials asked me to run for the Department of Labor. My opponent, who is the incumbent, I served with her for several years. I know her. Once we looked into her history and what she's been saying, we prayed about it. I realized we have to have a Republican that's representing us in the Labor Department, who is a true believer. So in the legislature, I'll give a brief little update, trying to keep this as short as possible. I helped pass constitutional carry twice. Fallon vetoed the first one. The next one, I let it off right out of the gate when Stitt came into office and got it through committee. We got it done within a month. That's one thing Stitt has been really good on is signing Second Amendment bills. We get him to his desk, he'll sign them every time. And pro-life bills. Second Amendment sanctuary state, I was the author of that in the House. Many other bills I've passed since I've been there with OK2A. Don Spencer, y'all know Don? He hangs out in my office all the time. Yeah, well, we get along real well, and we discuss language, and we've worked really hard to advance the Second Amendment, and I'm glad to see that we kind of pass the baton to some other members to keep the fight up. We didn't have a lot of it. Terry, did we have a lot of victories this year? I don't think we had too many.
Bills we back got to pass and sign it all.
Okay, 9. So one of them you mentioned was 186. I was a House author on that one. It did get watered down, but it was an issue. We got it watered down to the point where it's something that OK2A has been working on for 6 years. Pastors who are giving rides to people who are felons, they should be able to carry without making the person their pastor have another felony. It's just outrageous. So the reason it got watered down was in the House. The public safety chairman, Manger, he just did not want to have it where they were allowed to carry firearms again. So we at least got that victory out this last couple weeks ago. Stitt signed that one. Really proud to carry that one. I want to shift gears and talk about pro-life. Everybody here pro-life? So, thank you. Well, I had 3 main goals when I was first elected. One of them was constitutional carry. Got that done. The other one was to end abortion. Last summer, I went to NACL. It's a new group that started. It's a Christian group for Christian groups of legislators that came together in Dallas. They did a briefing on the Texas heartbeat bill. They went through it all, and my question to the other lawmakers is, why did they stop at the heartbeat? So right then and there, I decided that we were going to run the same bill in Oklahoma, except I was going to beat Texas, because I think we're better than Texas. And we were going to put it to conception, because right after it happened, I knew what was going to happen, and I was right. They were going to start coming to Oklahoma and having abortions. There was 2,500% increase in abortions in Oklahoma after they passed that bill. So when Stitt signed that bill last week, guess how many abortion clinics are open today? Zero. Zero. There's no motion being closed any clinics in Oklahoma. So one thing, I gotta give it up to Stitt. I mean, some people have issues with him for different reasons. I don't. He is as pro-life, as pro-Second Amendment as they come as governor. Now, I'm friends with Kintsel. He was in the House with us too. He's a great guy. But I served with Fallon for 8 years, and my goodness, what a difference Stitt is. But it's night and day. So he's done the right thing when it comes to Second Amendment and pro-life issues. And many other things. I'm just focusing on those two issues today. Terry, I could go on for 2 hours talking about this stuff. I know y'all don't. So I did I bring dinner? Yeah, no. So, but it would be very entertaining if I could keep going, because I'm going to play you just a small bit of why I'm running for office, as far as why we need to remove my opponent. I have the background and pedigree, business experience. I mean, the labor department, no one knows what they do they? Do you care? Yeah. Some of you do. So it deals with health and safety in the workplace. There's nobody better than a physical therapist to do that job, I think. Because that's all I was trained on, is health and safety. Working at UPS, working in my own small business, I have both ends. Fortune 500 company, and I've been there and signed the paychecks myself. So I know how it goes as a small business owner, and I know how the big corporations and health and safety for the blue collar workers are, and I've been there on both sides. But how many think we should have a Republican that actually represents the Republican values when we vote for Republican? Are you tired of rhinos? Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything bad about my opponent. I'm going to let her do it. Okay? These are things that she has said on the record, either in a video interview or a presentation to a group or on a audio group. So let me just start off. I think Brian has this on his side, but this is her talking to a group of liberals that she likes to take in. I know y'all clapped earlier about the SB2, right? SB2, y'all know what SB2 was?
Yeah.
So protecting women in sports. I was pushing the Senate last year. That's when I really talked to Terry about putting Pinnell in the hot seat, because we needed SB2 to pass, so boys weren't playing with girls anymore in their sports. Protecting women in bathrooms. That's another one we got done. Listen to what she says. Oh, keeping taxes. I haven't even got into the inflation issue. Keeping taxes low. That's our money, right? Government should be as limited as possible to get their job done, but the money belongs to us. I don't think we should raise taxes more than we absolutely have to. So we have a $3 billion surplus, by the way. Did y'all know that this year? $3 billion. With a B, not million, billion. We have a lot of extra money. We're going into special session because Stitt vetoed some issues of how they're spending the money, and I agreed with them. I've been running the elimination of the grocery sales tax for years. I ran it 2 years ago. I ran it this year. It's going to go to a vote of the people. And the chairman of appropriations in the House did not want it. So they played a little game. Okay, sorry, I'm going to get sidetracked. They played a little game where let's pass our version of the House where leadership has control, we'll send it to the Senate. Treat actually filed one, sent it to the House. Well, they don't want to hear each other. So, we pass it. And it never gets moved forward. Stitt said it, though, in the State of the State address. He wanted it gone. I kind of had to laugh because I'm like, I think he just reads all my press releases on what I'm working on. Joe. He's a great guy. Anyway, let's listen to what Leslie Osborne had to say.
Like me, I visit with the basket under people would ask how I voted. Right? So just because you like your guy or your girl, she's always friendly to that. Hold up your voting records, your state records, to legal words run for the anti-trans bills, gay bashing bills, abortion bills, gun bills. If that's what you want, that's not what our government. Are they the ones always voting for a tax cut? We have to get to the point where we educate ourselves.
She doesn't want us running those bills that we just talked about. She is against all those issues. She doesn't want us running tax cut bills. So, how many think we run too many gun bills and too many abortion bills? Anybody in here?
Last thing on that is that the government should not be in the job of legislating your morality. And we don't need 42 more gun bills, and we don't need 85 more abortion bills.
Do you see why they asked me to run against her? How many are liking her so far? Okay, so Connor talked about the Lincoln Project. Y'all know what the Lincoln Project is now? Their number one objective is to get rid of Trump and Trumpism. That means all of us who support Trump. How many think that we should have open primaries in the Republican Party? You want Democrats to come in and choose who our nominees are?
No, but I think the end of.
It's my safe space. Like I always say, I only follow things like the Lincoln Project and Kintsel or whatever. And project is about defeating Donald Trump and Trumpism at the ballot box. And in Oklahoma, as a closed primary state, you have to appeal to the people in your own party. First thing I'd love to see Oklahoma do, side note, is go to open primaries.
Are you mad yet? I can keep going.
This is a franchise, baby, but yeah, this is your Republican.
This is your Republican Labor Commissioner currently. She needs to go. This is why they want her gone. There's so many in here. Let's see. Here's another. Well, let's see.
Who's running? Who else is running?
Running against
This
her?
race.
Me and one other guy from Norman. He ran last time. He was a postal worker. He got, ironically, 20% of the vote without doing anything from what I could tell last time. So there's a three-way race. We need to beat both of them. There's so many. Brian, what else do you think I should push? Here's one for fun. Okay, y'all like Trump? Who doesn't like Trump? Right?
And I'm also running against the rhinos. You know what a rhino is? A rhino may be the lowest form of human life.
I pushed to raise revenue without popular for just recently it called rhino, and because I'm not the type of leading to legislate revenue.
I was a Trump delegate in 2016, by the way. Trying to keep that background short, just so you know. All right, I'm not going to give you too many more, but there's a few. You got to hear them. I'm sorry. If you're not mad yet, you got to get there.
The website that these are on.
They will be at some point. I think there is a website. Brian can get that together.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many. I'm sorry. There's just.
It's a treasure trove.
It's a treasure trove. And by the way, I'm going to pause for just a second. So if you want to go to my website, since you brought that up, it's SeanThePatriotRoberts.com. Okay. Got to remember. The other website you can go to, if you forget that one, is Robberts for Labor. All right, those two. And I'm going to tie it into your race here in just a second because this is really interesting. Y'all know who Pete Buttigieg is?
In that patriarchal society, it's mommy that takes care of the kids, not daddy. Not everybody is as emboldened as Pete Buttigieg and his husband, which I loved that he has made a point about a man taking that leap and being there for his children. I love it. What a great example to
Yeah, no, it's much worse. It's much worse. Okay, so I've got several of these, and like I said, we don't want to be here all day. I'll finish with this one.
And if marching in a parade means I don't get elected, then damn it, don't re-elect me. I'm not going to change who I am or what I believe. I get that vote of approval or non-approval every year at the ballot box, and I'm just going to be me.
Okay? Approve my case yet? All right. Okay. How many of you have given money to Democrats in the last 10 years? $10,000 worth? Anybody? Getting Drummond did.
Yeah.
Did I tell you where I was from? I said Hominy, right? You know where Getting Drummond's from? Hominy.
What?
I know this guy. I could tell you stories, but
He donated against you, didn't he?
he did. He did donate against me.
Were you rated like the most conservative member of the House, like last year?
Yeah, we'll get to that. I do have an A++ rating from OK2A. So, I need you to fight for me. I need you to fight for O'Connor. Gardner Drummond gave Leslie Osborne, and remember, these political insiders, they know each other. They know what they believe. He maxed out to her twice. Did I tell you who Gardner Drummond is? That's why I wanted to follow O'Connor. Now you know who Leslie Osborne is. I honestly did not know how bad she was. Everything we played, interviews from the last 6 months. Okay?
Some of them were during filing.
Yeah, that first one I played, where she's talking about all these bills we're running, the day before I filed. In the middle of filing, she's out there doing that interview. We cannot let Republicans who are really rhinos like her or Gardner Drummond get elected. If you don't step up and get the word out and help us get the word out, we're going to end up with people like this in the governor's office. Because in 4 years, that's what she's running for. So, appreciate all your help. I'll be having campaign signs out in the next couple weeks. Brian's the chairman of the Republican Party for Kay County. Get a hold of him. He'll be helping me on my campaign. Remember, Robberts for Labor. If you want to sign up, I need to make sure they've got the sign-up sheet. We're transitioning still for all of it. But if you want to donate, the donate side's up. I appreciate all you. I will continue to fight for the Second Amendment and life issues, even as the labor commissioner. And just want to really thank OK2A and all their support that they've given me over the years. But hopefully you're mad now and you want to go out and fight and make sure we don't have any Democrats, liberals who are in our party. We got to get rid of them. So thank you.
OK2A owes him a lot more thanks than he owes us. He's fought hard down there at the state capitol for 12 years. And people like this are the reason that I have mixed feelings about term limits. But it is what it is. If you can't get hold of Brian, if you don't have his number, does everybody in here have at least one of my cards? Okay. If you don't, I got a whole pocket full of them. Hit me before you head out. And one last thing. Today is Glenn's birthday. Yeah. Now he can get rid of that crappy fake ID he's been carrying the last 4 or 5 years. Okay, and we're all going to sing happy birthday to Glenn. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Glenn. Happy birthday to you. We're going to get ready for coming, folks. We're in the trenches. We're the most effective political group in the country. And we need your support. We need you to attend meetings, tell your friends, bring a friend to a meeting, tell your family. Second Tuesday, 6 p.m., Mary's Grill in Tonkwat, every month. And the fourth Saturday here, every month. I never, ever cancel a meeting. We always will have a meeting. I've only moved one, and that was last year because Christmas Day was the fourth Saturday. And I seriously thought about having a meeting in the parking lot that day just so I could say I never, ever cancel a meeting. Well, we just reschedule it. But anyway, fourth Saturday, second Tuesday. If you don't have my card, come get one. You can call me 24/7. Any questions, comments, or suggestions. Thank you for coming. God bless America.